Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtodharasthi Srimad Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Bhavishnom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtodharasthi Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki All glories assembled devotees All glories assembled devotees, all glories assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashta Presha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishna Swadamo Bhagate Dhamma Jnana Divi Saha Kalo Nashta Deshamesha Paranako Dunodita Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. This morning we're very fortunate to be reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 49. śreyasām api vibhur bhagavān yatosya bhāva-svabhāva-vihitasya sataḥ prasiddhiḥ dehe sva-dhātu-vigame nuviśīryamāṇe vyomeva tatra puruṣo nuviśīryate śreyasām api vibhur bhagavān yatosya bhāva-svabhāva-vihitasya sataḥ prasiddhiḥ dehe sva-dhātu-vigame nuviśīryamāṇe vyomeva tatra puruṣo nuviśīryate. Please chant. Mataji's. Sa, he, śreyasām, all auspiciousness. Api, also. Vibhuḥ, the Master. Bhagavān, the Personality of Godhead. Yataḥ, because. Asya, of the living entity. Bhāva, natural modes. Sva-bhāva, own constitution. Vihitasya, performances. Sataḥ, all good work. Prasiddhiḥ, ultimate success. Dehe, of the body. Sva-dhātu, forming elements. Vigame, being vanquished. Anu, after. Viśīryamāṇe, having given up. Vyoma, sky. Eva, like. Tatra, thereupon. Puruṣaḥ, the living entity. Na, never. Viśīryate, becomes vanquished. Ajaḥ, due to being unborn. Translation: the personality of Godhead is the supreme master of everything auspicious, because the results of whatever actions are performed by the living being in either the material or spiritual existence are awarded by the Lord. As such, he is the ultimate benefactor. Every individual living entity is unborn, and therefore even after the annihilation of the material elementary body, the living entity exists exactly like the air within the body. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The living entity is unborn and eternal, and as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 30, the living entity is not exhausted even though the material elementary body is vanquished. As long as the living entity is in material existence, actions performed by him are rewarded in the next life or even in the present life. Similarly, in his spiritual life also, actions are rewarded by the Lord by 5 kinds of liberation. Even the impersonalist cannot achieve the desired merging into the existence of the Supreme without being favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 11, that the Lord awards similar results as one desires in one's present life. The living entities are given freedom to make their choice, and the Lord awards them accordingly. It is the duty of everyone, therefore, to worship devoutly only the Personality of Godhead to achieve his desired goal. The impersonalist, instead of speculating or meditating, can directly execute the routine devotional service of the Lord and thus easily obtain the desired goal. The devotees, however, are naturally inclined to become associates of the Lord and not merge into the spiritual existence as conceived by the impersonalist. The devotees, therefore, following their constitutional instincts, achieve the desired goal of becoming servitors, friends, fathers, mothers, or conjugal lovers of the Lord. The devotional service to the Lord involves 9 transcendental processes, such as hearing and chanting. And by performing such easy and natural devotional services, the devotees achieve the highest perfectional results, far, far superior to merging into the existence of Brahman. The devotees are therefore never advised to indulge in speculating upon the nature of the Supreme or artificially meditating on the void. One should not, however, mistakenly think that after the annihilation of this present body, there is no body by which one can associate with the Lord face to face. The living entity is unborn. It is not that he is manifest with the creation of the material body. On the other hand, it is true that the material body develops only by the desire of the living entity. The evolution of the material body is due to the desires of the living being. According to the desires of the living being, material body develops. So from the spirit soul, the material body comes into existence, generated from the living force. Since the living being is eternal, he exists just like the air within the body. Air is within the body and without the body. Therefore, when the external covering, the material body, is vanquished, the living spark, like the air within the body, continues to exist. And by the direction of the Lord, because he is the ultimate benefactor, the living entity is at once awarded the necessary spiritual body befitting his association with the Lord in the manner of sarupya, equal bodily features, salokya, equal facility to live on the same planet with the Lord, sarshti, equal possession of opulences like the Lord's, and samipya, equal association with the Lord. The Lord is so kind that even if a devotee of the Lord cannot fulfill the complete course of devotional service, unalloyed and uncontaminated by material association, he is given another chance in the next life by being awarded a birth in a family of a devotee or rich man, so that without being engaged in the struggle for material existence, the devotee can finish the remaining purification of his existence, and thus immediately, after relinquishing the present body, go back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. In this connection, detailed information is available in Bhagavat Sandarbha of Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada. Once achieving the spiritual existence, the devotee is eternally situated there, as already discussed in the previous verse. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane He Guru Jnanada Dinabandho Swanandadata Kurana Ekasindho Vrindavanasina Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prajala Nama Shishtam Manumapi Sachiputra Matra Sarupam Rupam Tasyagajamurapuri Matarim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Mahoradikamadavasam Prapta Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Ajanulambita Bhajo Kanakavadato Sankirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Jagadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priya Guru Karunāvataro Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannataya Te Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vrindaye Tulsi Digvaye Priyaye Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Pradidik Satyavajay Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpaturbhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada discusses extensively the difference between the body and the soul. This is revolutionary idea. Think of it. In material life, the whole upshot of material life is how to enjoy the body, how to enjoy senses. And we're saying, no, don't do this. You're not your body. This is revolutionary. Tadvag visargo janatara viplavo. It's meant to create these literatures, this philosophy. Our philosophy is meant to upset the whole material paradigm of material sense gratification. That we're not this body, and the purpose of life is to understand our relationship with God eternally. The example is given here, that there's air within the body. When the body decomposes, the air emerges with the air. And when the soul, when the body decomposes, the soul also leaves. Soul has nothing to do with the body. Examine our situation as we sit here. We're sitting here, there's a brain, there's 2 lungs, a heart, spleen, pancreas, kidneys, stomach, bladder, liver, all material organs are functioning as we sit here. But do we think, I am a liver? I am a kidney? We have a kidney, we have livers, but what identification do we have with that? But due to ahankar, we identify with this mess we call material body. And this is how, by ahankar alone, we identify with it. Krishna says in Gita, Bhuma skalita bhadanam, Bhuma Bhumyar apanalo vayo kammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti amendvina prakritir ashtada. We have subtle body and we have gross body. Buddhi mana ahankar. By ahankar, we identify with this body. Like oil and water. Oil and water can never mix. You can put them together and shake them and they'll separate. But if you put soap in that mixture, that will merge the oil and the water, it will become one. So what is it makes us think, I am this body? This is ahankar. That makes us think that this life is meant for sense gratification. So this is revolutionary idea. To teach society that there's more to life than gross bodily identification. There's more to life than sense gratification. And we're meant to teach that. We're not meant to just go along for the show, go along with the ride. Peace, love, dove, whatever you think is beautiful. You're beautiful, I'm beautiful, this world is beautiful. It's not beautiful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vishame Bhavambudo. Patitamam Bishame Bhavambudo. We've fallen into this poisonous material existence. And the objective of life is not to be happy here. The objective of life is to leave. And if we don't understand that about spiritual life, we don't understand anything. If we don't teach that, we're not teaching anything. If we just teach people mental peace, mental equilibrium, be happy with society, compassion, love of your fellow man, philanthropy, mercy. What is the highest mercy? Teach people the truth. That patitamam bishame bhavam, we've fallen into this material world. And the objective of life is to get out. So Prabhupada talks here about different types of liberation. Our highest objective of liberation is to go back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada would often quote one famous verse from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Itam satam brahma sukha anubhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatane maya shritanam naradharakena maya sakam bijaru krita punya punja. Describing 4 different types of persons. First type of person, his whole objective of life is Brahma Sauja, to merge with Brahman, to become one with Brahman. This, according to Bhagavad Gita, is an impossibility, although it's very popular, especially here in Bharat. When they think of spiritual life, they think of Mayavad philosophers with a big beard, a big Rudraksha mala, saffron cloth, and a big tilak, and sitting on a stage and teaching Tattvamasi, I am God. This is the most inauspicious thing. According to Bhagavad Gita, this is an impossibility to merge with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord says, Mavaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. That word angsa, fragmental part of the Lord, sanatana, eternally. Natveva ham jatu nasam natam nime janadipa nachaiva na bhavishyama sarva vyoma takparam. Krishna told Arjuna, never there was a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. But they say, an error, that liberation means the river merges into the ocean. The water in the river merges into the ocean, or the air inside the pot. When you break the pot of misconception, the pot of ahankar, then the air inside the pot merges with the totality of air. This is a foolish idea. Because even if they say that the river merges with the ocean, the individual atoms are always individual. They're always H2O. Whether it's coming from the water, from the river, or from the ocean, it's H2O. They remain individual molecules. So Krishna is saying we're eternally part and parcel of Him. But this foolish idea has gained traction here in Bharat. I was invited. One sannyasi friend of mine invited me to come to the opening of a Jagannath temple in Orissa. So I said, sure, let's go. Auspicious occasion. So we got there. They had a big stage set up. We sat ourselves down on the stage. And in due course of time, who shows up? But the Shankaracharya of Puri. He's a very old man, very rotund body, eating lots of Jagannath Mahaprasad. So in one sense, he's blessed by Jagannath, but he thinks he is Jagannath. They say there's no difference between Atma and Paramatma. It is one. So he arrived with a caravan of Tata Sumos, 3 Tata Sumos. In the front Tata Sumo, 2 guards with automatic weapons. In the back Tata Sumo, 2 guards, automatic weapons. Now he thinks, I am Bhagavān. The Supreme Lord is, Lord need automatic weapons to guard him. Our Gopal, our Krishna is a very delicate young boy, but we never see a picture of him being guarded with anyone with automatic weapons. So they can't live their philosophy. They teach, I am God, I am one, it's all one. So success in spiritual life means to understand that Atma and Paramatma are the same. All nonsense philosophy. So he gets up on the stage and begins giving a very boring lecture. And halfway through the lecture, Bhagavān had to leave the stage because it seems Bhagavān couldn't hold his water. Bhagavān had to go pass urine. What kind of Bhagavān is that? But the whole society is bewildered by these cheaters who teach, yes, I am Bhagavān. So there's a class of person, they say success is itam sadham brahma sukha, to merge into Brahman and enjoy Brahma Soyuja, Brahmananda. This is not the perfection of life. Itam satam brahma sukhan vidasyam gatanam paradayavate. Another class of person thinks that the perfection of life is to worship the Lord with all opulence, to bow down, to be very careful how to approach Him, to worship Him in Aishwarya. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that Aishwarya, the worshipping the Lord in opulence, makes bhakti feeble. It cripples bhakti to bow down. And of course, we understand in the beginning we have to approach the Lord very carefully. Not that you can jump on the altar and give Radha Madhav a hug, or you can eat off Lord Nrsingadev's plate. The cowherd boys are eating off Krishna's plate. And Krishna's eating off their plate. When Lord Brahma sees that scene, he says, how is this the Supreme Personality of Godhead? A diminutive, talkative cowherd boy who's eating the food of his friends. This is juta. It's impure, and he's eating this. This is God. he becomes vimohan, bewildered. But this is the intimacy of braj, the intimacy of bhakti, that is not available in Vaikuntha. Can you sit and learn Nrsingadev's altar? You're making an offering. Okay, one for you, Nrsingadev, one for me, one for you. One. This is a different mood. We worship the Lord. Srila Prabhupada explained that we worship Radha Krishna in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan, with all opulence, with all reverence, to be able to approach them in Raga Marg. Pujala Ragapada Gaurava Bhanga. You can't jump to Raga Marg and jump on the altar and give Radha Madhav hug and eat up and sit and have lunch with them on the altar. You worship in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. But ultimately, there's a higher objective to bhakti. Third class of person is described as a person who thinks that Krishna is an ordinary boy, that there is no God. It's a myth, it's all made up, it's a fairy tale. This challenge came to one of my godbrothers. He was lecturing in San Diego. And somebody challenged him that there is no Krishna. This is all a myth, it's a fairy tale. Prove me wrong. So he's a very intelligent devotee. He said, okay, for the sake of argument, let us say there's no Krishna. It's all a fairy tale, it's a myth. But I love my life. I eat the best food. I associate with the most wonderful people who respect me. I mean, where in the world do you find people that fold their hands to you and bow down to you, that call you Mataji, that call you Prabhu, that want to feed you, that want to make you happy, that want you to go back to Godhead? Where will you find such a group of people as devotees? So he said, I love my life. I associate with the most wonderful people. I eat the most delicious food. I sing and I dance. I love my life. And if there's Krishna, if there is Krishna, I'm going back to Krishna. And you, my friend, are in deep trouble. So there is a class of person who denies the existence of God, but they have an explanation for the creation. Even a simple thing like a kartal. Did this just fall from the sky? No one designed it, no one decided what diameter it will be, how much metal will be in it, what sort of alloy, copper, tin, zinc, bell metal. How will we make this thing? How will we polish it? How will we finish it? It just happened? What is their explanation? To the most simple thing, a kartal. Or to speak of one single cell within our body. It is said that one single cell in our body is more complex in its operation than all of New York City combined. All the different departments, all the activities that are going on in New York City is less complex than that which is going on in a single cell in our body. And they say there's no God, there's no creator, there's no maintainer. The sky, you can look at an almanac, a panchang, and 1,000 years back you can know what time the sun rose, and you can look 1,000 years forward and know exactly what time the sun will rise. Is there no controller behind all that? It just happened. It just exploded from a, what do they call it, Big Bang? If you add a pile of cement and wood and copper and steel and glass and you explode it, will it make a building? If you do it enough times, will it make a building? If you go on eternity exploding that pile of matter, will it make a building? There has to be a creator, a designer, an architect, persons who build it, persons who live there. This is an insane proposition that there's no God in control. But this is popular theory also. So this is the third type of person. And the fourth type of person, sakam bijaru krita punya punja. That person who is, after accumulating lifetimes of punya, is able to play with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The first few verses before this verse appears in Bhagavatam describe how much fun the gopas are having with Krishna. They're chasing the shadow of the birds. They shout into a well and the echo comes back and they call the echo ill names. They pull the monkeys' tails. They make faces at the monkeys and the monkeys make faces. They're eating delicious food. They're singing, they're dancing, they're playing. They're decorating Krishna's hair. They're decorating his face with beautiful minerals. They're fanning him with the large lotus petal, lotus leaf, they're fanning Krishna. They're having too much fun. Sakam bijaru krita punya punja. How did they get there? Punya. Now someone may say, we read this verse in Bhagavatam, not in Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate tattamulyam ekal mulyam janma koti sukritarna labhyate. Someone may say, it says clearly right here, janma koti sukritar na labhyate. Even after accumulating millions of lifetimes of sukriti, you cannot get bhakti. So why is this saying here? Sakam bijaru krita punya punja. What kind of punya? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes that this punya means those activities that are pleasing to Krishna. Devotional service. Activities, Shravanam, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani, Vedanam. Devotional service is the way to come to this life of eternal life. That is the process. Krishna says there's no other way by which I'm understood. Bhaktya tanannaya shakya aham vidam vidarjana gyatum drashtum chatatvina pravishtum cha parantapa. He says only by bhakti can I be understood. Can I be known? Gyatum, drashtum, can you see me eye to eye and face to face by the process of bhakti? You can't buy Krishna. You can't just meditate on Krishna. You can't speculate on Krishna. You can't do business with Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj says, don't be a baniya, banik. This is karma kanda. They do this puja. Bolo Sri Satyanayan Bhagavān ki tu. And they think, I gave you gehun ka atta. I gave you flowers, tulsi, doodh, ghee, dahi. Now you give me. This is not bhakti. You can do this, have this kind of relationship with the Lord for millions of lifetimes and never get bhakti. So Prahlad Maharaj says, don't be banik. Bhakti is the only way by which we can understand Krishna, not by karma kanda. Examples are there because karma kanda is a very tricky thing. In Krishna book, the story is there of Nriga, who was giving cows in charity, thinking that this will give me a very good birth in my next lifetime. I'll give these cows to brahmanas, and there was some misunderstanding. One brahmana said, it's my cow. The other brahmana said, no, it's my cow. And ultimately they blamed Nriga and they cursed him. And he became a lizard. But this is actually blessing because Krishna is full of mercy for devotees. And what we may take as a reversal in life can be the greatest blessing also. Like Narada Muni cursed Manigriva and Nalakuvara. Was it a curse? Initially we may say they're cursed to stand as trees, stand in one place in the heat, in the cold, people carving their initials, breaking branches, plucking flowers, scraping off the bark. Such a curse. But what kind of curse was it? That curse brought darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Greatest benediction came from the curse. So also with Nriga. He was cursed to become a lizard, but Krishna himself pulled him out of the well and reinstated him in his original position. So sometimes we may look at life when there's some reversal and think, how did this happen to me? Why is Krishna treating me like this? Krishna is all good, he's all powerful. Therefore we can accept that whatever comes to our life is his blessing, especially in the life of devotee. I'll give you an example, if you don't mind, from my own life. When I was 19 years old, our family home caught on fire. My grandfather was an architect and made a big, beautiful wooden home. In America, they make the homes out of wood. So it was my father's birthday. Everyone's downstairs. Happy birthday, cake, ice cream, joyful time. And my little brother comes running downstairs. The house is on fire. The whole upstairs of the house burned. And I'm standing on the front lawn, seeing these huge flames coming out of the windows, thinking, my life is definitely changing right now. The fire occurred right next to my room. Everything I had was burned to ashes. The next day, I went there and I was very angry. I was throwing burned furniture out the window. Why is this? Why did this happen? I'm very angry. But what was the ultimate result? I met Lord's devotees. Because I was thinking, I'm 19 years old, I'm going to go out on my own, so I went to live in one house. And the people there took me to our ISKCON temple in Portland, Oregon, on Stanton Street in July of 1973. So if I was still living in that house in the midst of material opulence, what would I have become? A drug addict, probably? Insane? A prisoner? Dead? That's the direction my life was heading. But Krishna erased it all in a moment, burned the house down, burned all my total possessions were the clothes on my back. He erased everything and made it very easy for me. When I met the devotees, this is wonderful. I'm doing this. So immediately it appeared to be a great disaster in my life, but it was actually the greatest blessing. Same for Nigar Maharaj. Same for the Manigreva, Nalukubera. So we should have faith that whatever comes to our life is actually Lord's blessing and accept it in that way. And not try and swim upstream in our life. Just like if you go to Ganga. If you swim against the current, you will drown. But if you swim with the current, how far can you swim? You may swim all the way to Calcutta, it may be possible. But if you swim against the current, you may drown. So we should have that faith with folded hands, accept whatever situation comes to us as Krishna's mercy, and make progress in our life. And hope in some lifetime to have the opportunity to associate with the Lord in the kingdom of God in this wonderful realm where everyone is in love with Krishna. Where everyone is in love with Krishna. Because we can go there. We should meditate in this way. We sing every morning. Nikunjayono ratikili siddhyaya libya juktira pekshaniya. What does it mean? Juktira pekshaniya. Who knows? Who can say? Yuktir apekshaniya. We sing every morning. It means that the gopikas are making tasteful arrangements for the satisfaction of Radha Krishna and the nikunjas of Vrindavan. Who is there? Gurudev is there. He's ati priya eva tasya, ati valabhasya. Krishna Prishtaya, very, very dear to the Lord. And if he's doing that and I'm his disciple, what is the potentiality of my life? I may also enter and participate in making tasteful arrangements for the satisfaction of Radha Madhav and the Nikunjas of Vrindavan. In the forests of Vrindavan, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, cowherd boys, and Krishna and Balaram are simply wandering in the groves on the banks of Jamuna. There's a beautiful purport, I think in Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada describes, makes a whole list of all the delicious fruits they're eating. Tangerines, and grapes, and guavas, and mangoes, and oranges, and all different types of... They're just eating and enjoying. No BP problem, no sugar problem, no high cholesterol problem, no digestion problem, just eating and enjoying. Because they have spiritual bodies. Krishna said, Tasmat sarveshu kalishu, he told Arjuna, Tasmat sarveshu kalishu, mama nusmat, mayarpita manobhira, mami varshasya sanshaya. That you can go there by this process of living your life as is ordained by destiny and fixing your mind on Krishna. Tasmat sarveshu kalishu, at all times and all places, mam anusmara, Krishna said. Think of me and yudjacha. Do your duty of fighting. He told Arjuna, you fight because this is who you are. Nimitte matram, bhavasya savyasach. You're a fighter. So go out and fight. Do your duty. Do this thing. So we should reflect on these things and also reflect on the mercy that's available to us coming through Guru Parampara. Srila Prabhupada said that we're all Bhakti Vinod Parivar, the family of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Today, is his most auspicious Tirobhav Mahatiti Mahamahotsav, his disappearance festival. We observe these festivals. It's not, as Prabhupada would criticize one time, a festival of fruits and flowers. You throw some flowers, you cut some fruits, you eat some nice food, done. Their mercy is available on these occasions. Their mercy is available to reflect on the personality, such extraordinary personality as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who came to this world, who walked amongst us, who preached barely, just over 100 years ago. He was just here, practically speaking. You can go to his home. Go to Swananda Sukhada Kunj, Surabhi Kunj. He stayed there. He wrote Gita Mala. All this wonderful collection of songs, I'm forgetting the name, were written at Surabhi Kunj. Surabhi Kunjete Namar Hat Kuleche. He wrote these songs at Surabhi Kunj. He was just here. And he is Vrindavanasina Hitavatara Prasiddhiḥ Radha Pranaya Prachara. He's coming from Goloka, by his causeless mercy, coming to this world to pull us out. Extraordinary personality. Even from material calculation, he wrote his first poem when he was 2 years old. When he was 2, he wrote his first. Most kids are just learning to talk, and he's writing poetry to give some indication of his future contribution to human society. At age 6, he was studying Sanskrit. At age 7, he had read Mahabharata and Ramayana and perfectly grasped every story and could repeat and explain any topic from Ramayana, Mahabharata. He was a fearless preacher. He had 500 namhattas that he was managing. At one time in his life, he became very ill-disposed bodily. He couldn't even walk. So he said, "Give me a horse." He put himself on a horse. He put him on a horse, and he rode village to village, preaching Krishna consciousness. Such was his dedication to preaching Krishna bhakti. And of course, most of us remember the story of Bhishikeshan, this so-called avatar of Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu, who was doing Ras Leela with the village girls, he threatened the British Raj. "We're going to destroy you, I'm going to destroy you." He had some mystic power. Bhaktivinoda Thakur went and simply arrested him, threw him in prison. And by the yogis' mystic power, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, all their family became diseased, on the verge of death. He himself became very, very ill. And he said, "Let me die, but this man will be punished." Such was his commitment to truth, his commitment to Dharma. Actually, I made a list, I forgot some other things. He was also the Diksha Guru for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He gave Harinam Diksha to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he gave him Kurma Shila to worship, and he gave him the mantras for worshipping Kurma Shila. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wasn't just the son, biological son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but he was also disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur spiritually. Nayana Manjari, Nayana Mani Manjari, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, he described himself as a 12-year-old girl, servant, Manjari, servant of Lalita, and that Swananda Sukhada Kunj is none different from Lalita Kunj in Vrindavan. And he said, "I'm a 12-year-old girl, my dress is like the night sky decorated with stars." So reflect on our good fortune that a resident of Goloka came to this world to pull us out. And of course we understand that who fulfilled the mission of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was born on the same year that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur distributed the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, life and precepts of Lord Chaitanya, 1896, Srila Prabhupada's birth year also. So Srila Prabhupada fulfilled all the predictions, all the desires, the spiritual desires of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. There is a temple some distance from here. It says Shivatama Taraka Ishwar. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was visiting there, and that night in dream, Lord Shiva came to him and said, what are you doing? You're making plans to go to Braj? What do you think you're doing? There's so much work to do in Mayapur. You please stay in Mayapur. Lord Shiva gave his blessing that you stay in Mayapur and establish this Mayapur dham. Anyway, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is I have a whole list here, but running out of time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a whole class in itself. If you're a Hindi speaker, you can hear a nice class that was given today by Hari Leela Prabhu. There's one nice Leela also with Gadadhar Pandit, several, but one sticks out in my mind. Lord Chaitanya was making plans to leave Vrindavan, leave Puri to go to Vrindavan. The Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Haridas Thakur were continually making excuses to keep him in Puri. But finally said, no, I'm leaving. And Gadadhar Pandit said, I'm also going. But Mahaprabhu said, what about your vow? You've made this vow, vrata, to worship, kshetra sannyas, to not leave the dham and to maintain the worship of Gopinath at Tota Gopinath temple. So Gadadhar Pandit said, to hell with my vow that seeing your lotus feet are millions of times more important than my service to Gopinath. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left to go to Vrindavan, Gadadhar Pandit also followed him. And they came to the point where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised him. He said, you'll be very happy to come with me to Vrindavan, but I will be very unhappy. So you have to choose. Do you want to make me happy, or do you want to make yourself happy? And Gadadhar Pandit just fainted. He was in the mood of Rukmini Devi, who had a similar experience when Krishna was teasing her and said, actually, Rukmini, you should marry Shishupal. I'm not fit to be your husband. And he went on and on trying to convince Rukmini that you shouldn't marry me, and Rukmini just fainted. So Gadadhar Pandit was in this mood of always submissive to the Lord, very gentle. Mahaprabhu would go just out of control. He was asking Gadadhar Pandit, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is he? Gadadhar Pandit, he's in your heart. Mahaprabhu, he's in your heart. So Mahaprabhu came clawing at his chest, where is Krishna? So Gadadhar Pandit took his hands, held on to them. Krishna will come, no worries. So Sachi Mata, when she saw how nicely that Gadadhar Pandit was dealing with Mahaprabhu, says, you never leave him. And this he never did. He was always with Mahaprabhu in his Navatit Leela, in his Puri Leela. Because who is Gadadhar Pandit? It's not different from Srimati Radhika, Krishna's most dear associate. So similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's most dear associate, Gadadhar Pandit. So this is the legacy that's left to us. These beautiful Leelas, this opportunity, Sakam Bijaru Krita Punya Punja, to enter into Goloka, to participate in Braj Leela. It's not a myth, it's not a fantasy. It is within our grasp in this lifetime. Taktva deham punar janma naiti mameti sarjana. Krishna says, you can come back to me. I'm giving my guarantee. Asangshaya, if we take to the process given by our acharyas. So today, reflect on the mercy of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit, and pray to be their representative in your life. And that mercy will come to you, guaranteed. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Anyone has any comment or question? Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a very wonderful class. I have a question regarding the purport. So we hear that, as you said in the class also, we have to work as ordained by Lord, as ordained by nature. So we acquire our nature through the modes and false ego, our subtle body like mind, intelligence, false ego. So at one place we have to work according to our nature acquired by mind, intelligence and false ego. At the other side, at the other end, we are told that we have to subdue our false ego.
We have to?
Subdue our false ego. So how to reconcile these two things?
On one side, subdue false ego. On the other side?
We have to work according to our nature, which is acquired through false ego.
False ego is not within the scope of bhakti. They're opposite spectrums. I don't see how they're contradictory.
Because many times we tend to have this nature of lording over. So
we came here for that.
Yeah. At one place we are trying to lord over, and the other place we have to subdue also. So many a times this misunderstanding comes that we have to give up our nature. So does that mean we have to give up our nature, or we have to engage that nature in Krishna's service?
No, Srila Prabhupada says something very profound. He said that Arjuna heard Bhagavad Gita. He was a fighter before he heard Bhagavad Gita, and he was a fighter after Bhagavad Gita. Fighting didn't stop. His nature, his swadharma didn't stop. But he fought on the instruction of the Lord, and that is the difference. So if one is a manager, he should manage for Krishna. If you're a businessman, make business for Krishna. If you're a teacher, teach for Krishna. If your mother raised children for Krishna. This is our liberation. Yat karosha yarashasi yajdahosi dadasi yat yattapasasi konteya mat kuruṣva madarpanam. Offer everything to Krishna. And what's the result? Subha subha palay, next verse is Subha subha palay ramam moksha se karma bandhanai. Sannyasa yoga yuktatma vimukto mam upaishase. Krishna says, you do this, you're free from bondage. By yoga yuktatma, by engaging everything in my service, and at the end, mama vaishase, you come back to me. We have a very simple proposition. Do what you do for Krishna. You can do in the mood of ahankar. I'm a great businessman. Be a great businessman for Krishna. How are these buildings coming up? Only by the generosity, the extreme generosity of very pious, fortunate devotees who understand the value of working for Krishna and sacrificing the fruits of their labor to satisfy Krishna. They'll go back to Godhead. They'll go back to Godhead. Mami Vaishasi, Krishna says. Shubha, Shubha, Moksha se karma bandhana. They're free from the karma bandhana because they're connected with Krishna. So you can be a big businessman and go to hell, or you can be a big businessman and go back to Godhead. Be a teacher, go to hell. Be a teacher, go back to Godhead. A mother, a father, a business, anything. Do everything for Krishna's satisfaction. Mat kuruṣva mardarpanam. Offer to Krishna. Be liberated. A very simple thing. Does that answer your question?
But many a times what happens is that let's say for sake of example, being a big businessman, the being a good businessman is a very nice thing, and dedicating life for Krishna is a very nice thing. But byproducts of being businessman, we get a lot of bad nature also. Like
it gets a lot of?
That kind of nature which is not favorable for Krishna consciousness. So how to deal with that?
It's favorable if you offer the result to Krishna.
The nature...
This is consciousness. This is why Arjuna was instructed. Mayarpita mano buddhir, mamayoshasi asangshaya. Mamayoshasi, I give my guarantee, asangshaya, you'll come back to me. If you do your fighting, he was a fighter before, he's a fighter after. What has changed? Only his consciousness. With your mind and intelligence fixed on me, perform your duty of fighting, you will come back to me, I guarantee it. This is our proposition. Ahankara is where Arjuna is thinking, I'll leave my duty of fighting, I'll go to the forest and meditate. I can't kill these people, they're my relatives. Why can't I live with the lives of great souls? My victory will be tainted by blood. This is ahankara. Krishna told him, you fight, but for me.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your kind attention. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Srila Gadadhar Pandit ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Gadadhar